Danny State here on Daytime Vlog. Welcome to the return of 13 o'clock live. Some people call me the Wolfman Dan. Some people just don't call me at all. And I doubt anybody's going to show up. But if they do show up, we'll greet them properly. I hope everybody sits back and enjoys the show tonight. I'm getting things set up. Just bear with me for a second. I want to make sure the camera's set in the right position. It looks good, does it not? And hopefully you'll be able to see stuff tonight because we play videos on 13 o'clock live. This is Pat McCormick, my main man with the theme for 13 o'clock live. Risk, thrill, kill. It's 13 o'clock live here on the East Coast. That's 1 o'clock Eastern time. Welcome to the show. Welcome to 13 o'clock live. Today we're going to take a look at some really cool old Bigfoot stuff. I hope you enjoy it. And after the show, after we watch the show, we'll sit back and maybe listen to Bigfoot Rob tell us a story. Play some Bigfoot songs or something like I do on the other show you might be watching called The Witching Hour. But this is the Saturday night show when it's back and it's a little bit different than what you might expect. And a little more visual. And you can find my friend Pat McCormick's links in the chat. And I want to thank Pat McCormick for letting me use his really cool music here on 13 o'clock live. We'll probably be playing some more of his really cool music on 13 o'clock live. Maybe, I don't know, a little bit later on. But tonight we've got a show to get to. And it's In the Shadow of Bigfoot. The feature presentation we'll be watching here tonight. It's not a gigantically long video, so in the time remaining after the video, we'll exchange some pleasantries. We'll answer some questions. Heck, who knows, we'll probably hear a story from Bigfoot Michigan Rob and play a song or two before we go. And I want to invite everybody to be sure to drop your links in the chat. Because here we're a big family and we all try to grow each other's stupid little channels. So feel free to drop it on in there. And now your feature presentation. And we'll hope it don't get the big copyright block. If the show goes dead, you'll know what happened. And I want to invite the people who own this video to feel free to claim it and get your little 8 cents. I don't care. Just don't block the video. You can keep the 15 cents or whatever.
Something they thought they'd find on the was froze. Three of them went looking things they shouldn't see. And more I just don't know, 'cause they don't look me. No one knows that they found him, and the time I see his tracks out there in the Cascades, but none of them ever made it back.
Ah! Sorry about that, guys. Hadn't did videos in a while.
In the early 19th century, there was a man named Baron George Cuvier, who was one of the most prominent biologists of his time. Considering his place of influence in society, we would have expected that Cuvier would have done all he could to keep an open scientific mind while exploring the unknown. But instead, Cuvier in the year 1812 made a public declaration that there were no more new species of large animals left to be discovered anywhere in the world.
This is not a dramatization, but an actual account as the events occurred on an investigation into the mystifying creature known as Bigfoot or Sasquatch. Not done in an elaborate studio, this footage was taken by the Amazing Horizons Research Organization, ranging across North America in pursuit of evidence that would shed new light on this rare, elusive, and stunning creature.
In 1967, I saw the first live-action footage of the Bigfoot creature, photographed by Roger Patterson in California. What seemed incredible to me was that here we were putting a man on the moon when there was still so much unknown on our own planet. I began contacting the supposed experts in the field. I was joined by Ernest Montiel, a longtime friend. We formed the Amazing Horizons Company solely for the purpose of delving into the mysteries of the world. By most accounts, the Bigfoot creature was believed to be an animal of the wild. But we knew that if we wanted to learn more about this creature, we had to find a man of the wilderness. That man was Ivan Mark.
Bigfoot hunters from all over the country had come by my place since 1957 on to 1970. I'd be going out to check for Bigfoot tracks. They'd follow me, and maybe I can get in on his find. But Tom Biscardi came up and said, "Hey, I'd like to join you." I said, "No." Then Tom kept coming by, and pretty soon, he's not out to see what I found and swipe a picture or two, and by golly, I'm going to throw in with him.
Ivan and his wife Peggy came to Northern California back in 1947. They found their utopia in the wilderness of Mount Shasta, Bigfoot country.
I was learning tracking from the shoulders of my father. He would carry me on his shoulders on a coon hunt. I'd sat on his shoulder and I could notice tracks, and he'd show me, said, "Ivan, this is the track of a raccoon. In order to survive a depression like it is, we've got to catch this animal and get food on the table." So he'd take me down and say, "Look, here is a raccoon track. This raccoon has 5 toes. Now here's a cat track. This cat has 4 toes." He taught me why these animals have the 4 and 5 toes. And he also showed me how to trail them across muddy swamp, which is easy, and what to look for when they went across terrain that they would leave no tracks. They'd break twigs, or they might leave little smudge marks, or they even make the tracks in minute dust particles. When my father was teaching me, he had a pretty stern hand. He said, "Son, you better learn this if you want to survive." And even at that age, I realized that survival is the name of the game. My father's teaching gave me much knowledge. It was from him that I learned what to look for on the Bigfoot trail. When I found a bed, I knew that Bigfoot would defecate before going to sleep. So I looked for and found fecal matter. But one of the most important findings was how he would reach high up on a tree and leave his mark for others to see. In other words, this was his claim that this was Bigfoot territory. My wife Peggy goes with me on all of my expeditions into the wilderness, into the brown bear country, into the Bigfoot country, or if I'm sent out to trail down a mountain lion and catch it alive. A lot of times a mountain lion will be killing animals, and they say, hey, we don't want to kill this magnificent animal, let's remove him. So they send me out to catch this animal. What I do, I throw a rope around his neck, I pull him out of the tree. My wife grabs him by the tail, I tie him to the tree, I go around and take 2 more little ropes and tie his legs up, put a stick in his mouth and haul him 100 miles away, turn him loose again. So my wife goes with me on all these things. One time a grizzly bear got me down and chewed my leg up, and that woman still held her cool. Peggy was born in southern Arizona on a big cattle ranch. She spent all of her life in the desert country riding with her father, herding the desert longhorns and the Brahma cattle. When I go down into her part of the country, I'm afraid of those longhorn cattle because they run me up a tree every time. In April 1981, I got several reports of Bigfoot tracks in the Mount Lassen area. I was out of movie film, and there's no way where I lived that I could buy movie film on the spur of the moment. So I loaded up my Nikon cameras and hit the trail. I was in the area several days, and on this one particular day, I was sitting waiting on a water hole, which a Bigfoot or any animal has to come into a water hole, especially this time of the year. And I was just sitting there kind of relaxed, and all of a sudden, from out of the forest, here came this Bigfoot creature. And I could see that he was having the same problem I was, because mosquitoes was all around him, same as they was all over my body. He stepped right out into the pool, he reached over, he threw water all over himself, and then he took the water away, and then I think he heard my Nikon camera click, because all of a sudden, he bounded off into the brush and disappeared. And that was the last I saw him.
It was April 5th, 1981. Ivan called me. I assembled the Amazing Horizons crew, and we were off to Bigfoot country.
All around the world they travel, searching distant lands, trying to find the
We
creature.
made our camp about 30 miles from Ivan's ranch, where he had sighted the creature. Ivan explained he had received several phone calls from around the country on the same day he saw the creature, that others had also had sightings that day.
All animals move in greater numbers during the full moon. If there's a Bigfoot sighting in Nome, Alaska, and there's one in California, one in Vermont, and one in the Everglades of Florida, all at the same instant, then you know that there's more than one Bigfoot. I would say that there's a minimum on our continent alone of 1,200 of these things.
Early the next day, we began searching for the prints this creature left behind. The area was perfect for the creature. Ivan believes the creature to be a vegetarian, but there are many theories that it is a meat eater.
Bigfoot never eats any red-blooded meat. Bigfoot has been known to eat a few fish, but it's mainly berries, roots, and all kinds of vegetation. So many calls that I get says, hey, come quick, Bigfoot just killed my cow. Go over there, a bear killed it. He's in my chicken coop. Well, there's so many things gets in a chicken coop, a bobcat, a fox, a raccoon, but never have I found where Bigfoot eats any red meat.
Ivan has domesticated wolves for hunting purposes. Ivan explained that the wolves consider Bigfoot a friendly creature by the way they roll in the scent of the footprints. This is a sign that the scent belongs to a friendly wilderness creature. We gathered as many casts of the prints as we could, noting the long stride of the creature as well as their resemblance to flat-footed humans. But considering the depth to which each print depresses the earth, the foot going far deeper into the ground than any human print, I am continually amazed. Prints that range anywhere from 12 inches to 21 inches in length and 4 to 8 inches wide, far larger than that of any living creature known to exist in North America. Something is making these giant human-like footprints. this something makes them, and Ivan has proved it can be caught in the act. It is extremely difficult and rare, but not impossible. We are determined to continue our search until we can prove to the world that there is a creature unknown to man who has a unique knowledge of survival to have eluded man for hundreds, maybe thousands of years.
Some set up our proof by the patient listening device with the hopes of reporting some live action sound of Bigfoot, while the rest of our search party scanned the area for a possible site.
Ivan was an old bear tracker. Tom was a man with dreams. Ernie came along and I wrote the songs about a creature that you've ever seen. Monsters, myths, and mysteries. Legend tales and facts. It brought us all together, and it's a reason for that. Up in North California, where the redwoods reach the skies, three men with a goal and a pact that they hold and a promise till the day that they die. Answers to the questions no one's found before. Driving determination, the only key they had to unlock the door. Monster, myths, and mysteries, legend, tales, and facts.
Early miners throughout the Pacific coast of America and Canada often had encounters with hairy creatures or wild men. In 1904 in Cottage Grove, Oregon, it was reported in a newspaper there that many of the miners avow that the wild man is a reality. They have seen him. They say he is something after the fashion of a gorilla, and unlike anything else, either in appearance or action. He is about 7 feet high, has broad hands and feet, and his body is covered by a prolific growth of hair. In short, he looks like the very devil. And what can we make of additional writings based on pre-Christian European stories in which Saxon tribes were known for a ritual called chasing the wild man out of the bush or fetching the wild man out of the wood, a supposedly mock ceremony based on a real live wild man who was known to inhabit the wilderness areas of the land? We can see that this picture could have easily appeared in the Lane County Leader in Cottage Grove, Oregon, hundreds of years later, under the same name, Wild Man. We even came upon writings of a noted Russian scientist, Dr. Boris Porshnev, where he reported that Chinese Mongols used to hunt creatures of the same description as the wild man, Bigfoot, Sasquatch, and the like, through Asia, hunting them on a wide scale and even in some cases capturing them, taming them, and using them for domestic purposes. Some records go as far as reporting ancient Oriental practices of hunting these poor half-human to slaughter them for wild man medicine. We had gotten all we could from this part of our search here in the Mount Shasta area. Ivan was anxious for us to meet with an Indian named Whitebird, who would have some fascinating stories to tell us about his experience with the creature.
Whitebird is an artist from the Mogollon Rim country of Arizona. He was raised by the Apache Indians.
I used to visit an old Indian when I was a child. His name was Henry Evans. He was 110 when he died. Henry used to tell me about the creature. In Arizona when I was about 8 or 9, I actually saw the creature up on the Tonto Rim. I was alone. At first I didn't know what it was. Finally I put 2 and 2 together and figured what has been will be again. Old Henry Evans was already dead. I could never tell Henry I finally saw him. I couldn't talk to many others about it. A lot of the people were afraid of him. Some of the old-timers, they weren't afraid because they knew what he represented. He's more of a god, I guess you'd say. Henry told me stories about the fire pit. Bigfoot used to inhabit the Tonto Rim country of Arizona. Lots of Indians lived there in small groups and fell prey to warring tribes, and Bigfoot would walk along the creek bank. When the warriors got ready to attack the peaceful natives, Bigfoot would start a fire. He'd be standing by a rock, and the dang rock would catch on fire. And it would just burn and burn and keep getting higher and higher until the renegades left. A lot of the old Indians felt he actually had hypnotic powers. You see, he protected those people. way he did it. He always tried to keep the hostilities down between tribes. I never did go trailing the critter down. It wasn't that I was afraid. I just didn't have any special gift for tracking, like old Ivan here.
In June 1981, my wife Peggy and I was out searching for Bigfoot tracks in Northern California. As we walked across the clearing, carrying a camera in my right hand and a rifle over my shoulder, my wife carried a Bolex movie camera, just select one out of the carry. And all of a sudden, we heard a grunting sound coming from out of the brush. I told my wife, here, hold this camera because I think we have a bear coming. When I first saw the beast charging at me out of the brush like a grizzly bear, my first impulse was to shoot in self-defense. My wife photographed the entire incident until her camera ran out of film. Then while she switched cameras, the beast charged at me one more time, and I shot. And then it went down. As we run around so we get a better look at the creature, I had to shoot one more time to discourage because it looked right straight at us, and I did not want to kill this thing. And as I watched it drag off into the brush, I did not fire anymore. But then, as the creature surprisingly raised up and began racing off through the timber, I fired 3 more shots in this close proximity just to scare the thing away. Then my wife spotted the creature, turned to look at us, and then went over the hill. I just stood there, my wife said, what are we going to do? I said, let's get out here, let's run. Because I don't want this thing coming back. I don't want to have to kill this creature. So immediately, we run as fast as we could back to where we had dropped a lot of our camping gear, back to our pickup, and went home. I think we was all born with the ability to trail down animals. We had to, or we wouldn't be here today. Our forefathers would not have survived. You take track of one animal, then you take a track of another animal of the same species, walk them along side by side, and I'll tell you which one's which. And when I trail the animal down, the one that I want, it'll be the one I started on. They may cross another pathway of 7 or 8 different animals of the same species, but I'll come up with the right one, because a track to me is as different as faces of people. You walk down the street, you see people's faces, you recognize them. Well, I looked at so many tracks in my lifetime that each individual animal track has its own character, its own shape, and its own definition.
Ivan described Manhattan as a different kind of wilderness. When he told us he imagined a Bigfoot creature like King Kong perched on top of the Empire State Building, we figured it was time to get him out of the city. Our trip to New York was planned specifically around a Dr. Gary Levine, whose study of the creature appeared as an article in Globe National magazine. We were also anxious to authenticate some recent reports of sightings in that area. Dr. Levine's research was in the realm of defining the Bigfoot creature as a psychic phenomenon.
First of all, what is it? It's not an animal that can be classified. Animals have to be classified. Is it a mammal, an amphibian? One of the reasons we assume the psychic theory is that it has never been caught. We don't have anything more to go on except to say that it's not an evolutionary product. There is no such thing as the missing link. That's a myth. Those who have had contact with him, this contact is psychic, on the most part. Now, there are a few cases where, of course, the research is very difficult to get at, where some people who have seen it may not be psychic.
The psychic phenomena thing about Bigfoot is not realistic, because out in the mountains, everything is real. Everything seems to have a reason. Now, I believe that a lot of people do have visions like this, but I think it's maybe caused from something they eat, maybe a little indigestion or something like that.
So Dr. Levine believes this creature to be a psychic phenomenon. He did direct us to a family in Kinderhook, New York, where there had been recent sightings of the creature.
I heard a wailing cry, almost like a human sound. Then I saw it. Out here, right here, huge black fur. It curled up and laid down on the ground right here.
My brother sometimes sleeps up in his treehouse up there. One night we heard him calling for help. He was frightened to death by the cries of this creature. I came running out.
In a small town in upstate New York on August 30th, 1976, there were reports of a huge ape as reported to the local police, the New York State Police, and a Washington County deputy sheriff who searched the area, but were only able to spot the creature from a distance. The creature has been widely described by both police officials and civilians as between 7 and 8 feet tall, very hairy, having red eyes, and weighing between 300 and 400 pounds. Police Sergeant Murdoch said,
"I'm not saying this is a monster or anything else, but there is something out there, and it's no animal that belongs in the northern part of this state."
A few of the people who gathered with us at the Hollandex were there to tell the family they thought it was all a hoax. This is why so many sightings go unreported, because of skeptics who make it difficult for people to come forth with their stories. No one wants to be called crazy by their neighbors, and no neighbor wants to live next door to someone who talks crazy.
Many people all over the world, in fact, think that Bigfoot is entirely a hoax. Well, I've got to say I can't blame them, because I thought he was hoax. The first few times somebody come and said, "Hey, you want to chase a big old hairy looking thing over the mountain?" I said, "No, I don't want no part of that thing," and I kind of laughed. But a lot of people think that he is a hoax for the simple reason they don't know anything about this kind of thing, nor do they know about the wilderness and how an animal like this couldn't fit in the wilderness without being detected any more than he is. So they say, well, he is a hoax, and that's the way it is.
Tell me who's to say you think that we've come this far, looking back on yesterday, because you hadn't seen sun, you tend to disbelieve, though you've never known death. When someone dies, you grieve, though you never seen the good Lord. There's ones that worship in these days.
20% of the people that sees a picture of Bigfoot say, "Look at this picture. Oh my goodness, the little hair on his head that's out of place. And look down here. I bet that's a wrinkle back of his knee in his monkey suit." Then I immediately walk over to one of my bear pictures and say, "Look at this. What's this picture?" "Why, that's a bear." I say, "Are you sure?" "Why, certainly. I know bear when I see him." I said, "That's right. You sure do. But now look at this picture close. You see down here on the side of this bear where his skin is wrinkled?" "Yes." "And then you see over here the foot that's on the ground that's nice flat? That looks like it's out of proportion. Do you reckon this is a mounted bear?" And then he looked close. They start scrutinizing the picture. I said, "That's my point. Let's take it back to the Bigfoot creature now. You look at him, and you don't have any idea what he looks like. So you can find fault. It just all boils down to if you know, then you don't look for flaws."
Well, that Bigfoot had one dangling, didn't he?
Says hoaxes, produced by perhaps prankster youngsters with access to high school shop classes and plywood. But consider this. What
Squatch
is
is hung.
we are aware of are only a small fraction of what is really out there. Our astonishment, indeed dismay, that a society such as ours, which has the appearance of being one so deeply concerned with self-improvement and self-understanding, then why have we not considered this phenomenon of nature worthy of study? If, as our research supports, this creature has been reported in historical references from pre-Christian Europe to present-day North America, what is it that causes us to avoid, or still pervert and commercialize this subject into monster movies and the like? Is it that we are afraid of looking at something that reminds us of our possible origins? Is it the fear of Darwin's theory of evolution? Or simply the frightened scientific egos who, like Baron Cuvier back in 1812, have proclaimed their findings, and now nature must conform to their edicts, to save science the painful embarrassment of being proved wrong? Perhaps we have placed undue pressure on a select group of people who feel they can only maintain our respect and their credibility by holding firm to being right, even at the cost of being completely wrong. At Castleton State College, we were invited to the house of Dr. Warren Cook, an ethnohistorian and professor of anthropology and history.
I was born in the Pacific Northwest And of course, this influences how I look at the world. My specialty is Native American culture history. And for years I've been aware that every Indian tribe in the Pacific Northwest has various names for a hairy, man-like creature wandering around in the woods. It's pretty much as if they took the attitude that, well, someday the white man will wake up and realize that there is such a creature out there in the woods. Historical references to hairy hominids in North America date from 1688. Jose Mariano Mocinho, a scientist accompanying a Spanish expedition to Nootka Sound in 1792, recorded Indian beliefs about a monstrous man-like creature covered with stiff black bristles and extremely long arms. In 1811, in the Canadian Rockies, famed explorer David Thompson spotted gigantic tracks of a similar creature. In British Columbia, 1835, a party of Indians had with them a hairy hominid, quote, a hideous-looking monster, said to be of the feminine gender, with sledgehammer fists and enormous feet. In 1840, the Reverend Elkanah Walker reported the Spokane Indians' belief in a race of nocturnal giants that whistled, had a most intolerable smell, and made tracks a foot and a half long. In British Columbia in 1884, an adolescent Sasquatch was captured, caged, and shipped eastward by train.
How do you account for all these sightings all over the world, known by different names and all?
Well, of course, the gorilla wasn't really recognized as a species until well into the present century, and they are quite numerous. How is it they could escape documentation for so long? I don't find it surprising that this creature, if it is as intelligent as it seems to be, that it could escape efforts of capture. I know that right here in Vermont, the ease with which a bull moose can move and be reported 50 miles away, and then all of a sudden disappear and not be seen in between there and the point where it turns up 4 days later. This photograph was taken during a construction project here in Vermont. If you look close, at the top is a black shape that, when enlarged, looks like a Bigfoot. There is no upturned stump at that spot. A huge, hairy, ape-like creature was sighted in that very area at about the same time. The difference in the hair length can be attributed to the fact that this picture was taken in the fall, whereas the others from California were in the spring, when all wild animals have shed their winter coats.
After collaborating with Ted Pratt and Dr. Cook, and having received a letter of verification from Dr. Cook here in Vermont, and one from Dr. Levine earlier on in New York, authenticating the photographs that we showed them, we were quite satisfied.
Yeah, that's a cool picture, though.
Only this kind of collaborative research that can serve to further our understanding of the unknown. In Florida, a news article was published on January 17, 1976. Will the skunk apes strike this year? 12-year-old Ronnie Stevens was awakened one night by the sounds of his ducks thrashing about in their pen. When he went outside, there stood a 6-foot-tall, dark, hairy, ape-like creature. The elusive creature vanished. But both Deputy Timothy Egan and Corporal Martin Smithson of the Sheriff's Department agreed that something had been in the area. 2 other accounts were reported the previous week.
The Bigfoot creature in Florida is called skunky. For the last 20 years, stories have been coming out of the Everglades about this creature. The only thing to do is go down and see if any of these things was authentic.
With all the publicity in recent years, we found it rather easy to locate some people who could guide us to the different areas where sightings had occurred. A young man named Vinny Zinglo served as our best source of information. He told us, however, that even though there had been a great deal of publicity, people reporting numerous sightings, there still was no sign that this creature was taken seriously. Vinny went on to tell us about the state of Washington, Skamania County, where the Board of County Commissioners had actually taken steps to protect the creature. Therefore, be it resolved that any premeditated, willful, and wanton slaying of any such creature shall be deemed a felony punishable by a fine not to exceed $10,000 and/or imprisonment in the county jail for a period not to exceed 5 years. Vinny told us the next person we should speak with was an Indian man named Bobby Tiger, one of the most respected wilderness experts of the Everglades.
Bobby Tiger, wildlife man and alligator wrestler. We talked to Bobby Tiger about the Bigfoot creature.
And Bobby said, sure. Our people have told about this creature ever since we have any recollection of time. Our old people sat around and tell stories at night.
Oh, get laying on the edge of the swamp, laying there waiting.
I love this show because it's got the cool music.
Dear sways of granny, 'cause you ain't wear no shoes, ain't wear no shoes. What you doing down by the bayou, walking with that old cane pole? Should be in school, I bet you heading for a fishing hole. But what you mama told you, boy? Now you're breaking all the rules. Out in the swamp, man, Gator, he's a waiting on you. Walking through the high glades out in the sea. Old man Gator, he's a
It's like Marg's
got
backyard.
me by the foot, got and I was a fool. I should have listened to Mom. Stay in school. Hey, Mr. Gator, what you doing? Right around the cypress tree. See you little.
This picture here was taken this spring in Northern California. And here's one taken by a man in Vermont just 2 months ago. They didn't know what it was at the time until they magnified the dot in the photo.
Yes, you can see it through there, what we call skunk ape. There are many who have seen the creature, but they don't want to talk about it. It seems you have much knowledge of this creature, but still we know very little. As with my alligators, I know much, but very little.
But you know his patterns enough to have captured him. Bigfoot seems to set no pattern.
If we could learn this creature's pattern, what we could learn about survival, my friend.
As we came to see, Bobby certainly knows the patterns of the alligators. This could be the only way Bobby could work with him as he does. He knows that the secret behind the power of the gator's jaws lies in the muscles used to snap shut. By understanding that the muscles used for opening its jaws are fairly weak, the danger is lessened when he places the gator's jaws under his neck. Of course, this is easy for us to say, sitting safely outside the arena. What is important is to see that his courage comes from his knowledge of the animal's habits and patterns.
Now you're breaking all the rules. Yeah, in the swamp, man, Gator, he's a waiting on you. He's a waiting on you. Old man Gator on the edge of the swamp, he's a laying there waiting on you. Gator sways a granny, 'cause you ain't a wearing no shoes, ain't wearing no shoes. He's a waiting on you, he's a granny. You see?
Many years ago, before the population built so much around them, the skunk ape creatures would come. We believe he is here. Look who's going to see it. And if he does, he's a lucky hunter.
Bobby suggested we go out into the Everglades swamp areas, that this is where the skunk ape was most often sighted. Our guide related countless stories of the sightings. He shared some thoughts on where he felt this creature came from.
It is known that the creature had been from a tribe of Indians in Asia, born with a fighting physical appearance. These outcasts were driven into the wild. We feared his strength would be used against our people.
Again, I was picking up this great sense of fear from Indian tribes. I remembered an older legend that I had come across about the Mongols of Asia, that they had actually been known to train these ape-like creatures for use in warfare against their Indian rivals. Could this be an explanation of why so many Indian tribes to this day express this great fear of the creature?
Talking to people in Florida, we believe that the skunk ape is a subspecies of Bigfoot. His body is a little heavier, more like a heavyweight wrestler. While the Bigfoot of the Pacific Northwest is more like a marathon run. From walking the high mountains, he is much slimmer, trimmer still.
While deeply engrossed in our search in the Everglades, our office received word of recent sightings in the Louisiana Bayou country. So off we went. By contacting a woman named Edith McNair, the editor of the Sun newspaper in La Place, Louisiana, we had, within a few hours, not only the local people aware of our arrival and purpose, but we had the local sheriff acting as our host. After speaking with the people who had seen a creature whose description, once again, was almost identical to that of the sightings all over the country, we went out to determine whether the area was right for this creature's needs. And it was. There was an abundance of water, vegetation, and sheltering forest land. One of the people who had sighted the creature was a man named Emmett Perilou, from one of the oldest Louisiana families. In fact, this area is known as Perilou Land. Emmett was anxious to show us where the tracks had been last found. It was a heavily wooded spot with hanging grapevines and dense undergrowth. The prints were found in the mud where the creature had come out of the thicket and into an open field, down into a 5-acre patch of turnips. Evidence showed that the creature had eaten of the vegetables, then continued on his way back into the protection of the woods. One of the people who accompanied us into Perilou Land was a man named Robert Fabian, a geologist and expert on the bayou country. He invited us to go into the swamps with him. After hearing about what was out there in the swamps, we decided this was something we would leave to Ivan and Robert.
I had to go alone because the bayou country is treacherous. You have alligators, you have snakes, you have quicksand, and all kind of hazards out there. And Fabian was a man of the bayou country. So Fabian and I made the trip alone. And we found that this was really another paradise for Bigfoot. I think you can find a paradise like this almost any state in the Union because nature has fixed it this way. It gives us something for everybody in every state.
The animals and the birds, once they get acquainted with us, they will become active again. Snakes are kind of sluggish this time of year. We shouldn't find any hanging in the foliage above our heads, but be careful not to step on one when we leave the boat.
Funny little tracks across the Perilou Land. Footprints bigger than a giant man. Things out there no one understands. It's funny looking tracks across the Perilou Land. Some folks say it's Mike's and Joe. Might be a Sasquatch and I don't know. Whatever it is, they'll be around. When they found them funny looking tracks across the Perilou ground. People they came around. Look at the tracks in that St. John ground. Look at the sun, don't know what to about. Leave it right there, that St. John ground, St. John.
At first, there were stories that someone was living out there in the swamp, some hermit or trapper, but then about 4 years ago, a drought hit the glade land. A grass fire swept through, chasing out all living things. Animals, all kinds, darting past the firefighters, running for their lives. Well, I was there helping, dousing from my boat. We saw not only myself, but others too. We saw a handful, maybe 6 creatures, fleeing those scorching flames.
I put it in the zoo. People keep looking even though they're wrong. Them great big tracks out there in St. John.
This is cool. You know, I actually didn't watch this before I played it all the way through.
Patrick Corey, one of my former students, took this photograph at a lamasery near the base of Mount Everest in Nepal, at the lamasery of Pangboche, and it shows a domed skull cap. Mr. Corey was given the opportunity to examine it inside and out, and what looks like an artificial seam is natural, product of the development of the creature itself. This is a strong factor to take into account when passing judgment on what seems in Ivan Marx's photographs to be a peaked skull.
If anyone is really interested in charting the course of Bigfoot, I believe you can take a look at our map of Tibet, and then you take a look at the mountain range. The mountain range will go straight from Tibet up south of the Mongolian Plateau, straight northeast on up towards Alaska, and it ends right at the little ice bridge area where all American Indians probably originated from, come across from Mongolia and Siberia and that part of the country. Well, then this complete mountain range is only 25 miles then from the start of the Brooks Range. Then the Brooks Range goes across the top of Alaska, on down through the Yukon Territory, British Columbia, Washington, Oregon, and down into California.
The Honey Island creature reminded us again that the likelihood of there being many species that have yet to be categorized and recognized by the scientific community was as much a mystery as it had been to the scientists back in 1812 when that Cuvier fellow announced there were no new species to be discovered.
Almost all animals have a routine, the pattern that they set in their daily lifestyle. A wolf has a pattern, a cougar has a pattern, and a bear especially has a pattern. A human is really in the same category, because when a human does something wrong, the law enforcement officer looks at him and says, hey, let's see if he fits in the pattern. Then we know pretty well who done it. Well, the Bigfoot creature is a little different. That is the reason I'd say that this thing has never been captured. And this is the reason that it's taken me since 1951 to really come up on a kind of a logical conclusion of where I might find this thing at a certain time of year.
My mountains, valleys below, like all there with me, I'm with you wherever you go. My brother's sun lights your path each day. My sister moon at night takes its place. My wish for you, no matter who you be, to share my gifts and live in harmony. Drink my streams, my water of life. You rest upon my soft cool lands of night. I am the earth, I am your home. I've nurtured you since you were born. Something take from me you ever learned.
There's an area in Alaska that they call Windy Mountain, and there's one trapper up there that I know of that when he first saw this creature, he told everybody in the village, he says, we must not trap on Windy Mountain because there's a white ghost.
Keep trap on Windy Mountain, white ghost travels there. Some say that it's a yeti, so white's the color of its hair. Just like the dinosaurs, he should have died off long ago, but will survive his crooked life in Alaska's frozen snows. Tales around the campfire, and down watching the sun, fill up the ghost of Windy Mountain, and all the things he's done. He's a guardian of the creature.
My wife and I have struck up a meaningful relationship with the natives of Alaska because they call us the friends of Bigfoot. People in Alaska tell me Bigfoot is a creature that walks without a shadow.
It is said that Bigfoot is afraid of his shadow. But we believe in our village, if Bigfoot can see his shadow, it is too light to walk because people with guns can see him. People must learn to leave him alone, as we do. And maybe someday he can enjoy the warm Arctic sun and learn to live with his shadow. We hope you will tell the people to the south. And if they learn this, Bigfoot will be free, and our village will be happy.
If any of the Alaskan people think that they have offended Bigfoot, they just real saddened. I know of several occasions where they've come upon a Bigfoot track that has crossed their territory. They'll walk up to the track, they'll look at it, say, oh, Bigfoot has sent me warning. So what they'll do then, if they have a couple of rifle shells in their pocket or a pocket knife, split everything they have down the middle, to leave half of it on the ground for Bigfoot as a symbol that we have heeded your warning and we will return to our village. The Eskimo people of Alaska claim that they have plenty of knowledge where Bigfoot takes his own dad and drops the bodies into the crevices of the glacier. Then the glacial action will grind the body to bits. The Eskimo people claim that the Bigfoot really take care of their dead.
You ever learn these special gifts must be returned? I must take you, I must reclaim. You shall return from where you came. Over I am the earth, I am your home.
Some of my treks into the Arctic, I talked to a lot of the old-time miners. In fact, I interviewed a fellow by the name of Yukon Blackie in Dawson City, Yukon Territory.
If these things was around in great numbers, they'd come on top of the mountain and sit around and watch everybody down below. The bear was there, the wolf was there, and the caribou was there. And so was Bushman. Of course, you know we call him Bushman, your Bigfoot creature. Along towards 1905, maybe 1910, when the riverboats brought many, many people into Alaska, these things seemed to disappear.
If the population gets that thick, we're going to revert back to the days like the dinosaur, when they heat up everything on Earth and wound up in a big pool of oil down underneath the terrain. So Bigfoot, if he should invent a vehicle, then this guy might be driving around with our own petrol.
For years, stories have been told about the swimming capabilities of Bigfoot. It is said he can swim more than a mile underwater. So the Amazing Horizons group decided to check out one of the lakes where creature sightings occur the most frequently. Ivan took all his camp gear and flew out to see what he could find. They searched the lake shore to no avail as Ivan listened to the pilot tell about an old sourdough living in the area. He did not know the sourdough's correct name. The pilot said they simply called him Moose because of his size and the way he survived living all alone out there in the Alaskan bush country. The story was so intriguing, Ivan decided to stop at Moose's camp and spend a few days interviewing him. Much to Ivan's surprise, after taking all his gear off the plane and instructing the pilot to leave, old Moose was nowhere to be found. The sun never dips completely below the horizon during the summer months, so Ivan used the twilight hours to set up camp. The next day, Ivan started out to find the wilderness hermit. He could tell that Moose must have been catching fish for the long winter months ahead by the fishing equipment that was in the tent. But the first day, no sourdough could be located. That night, Ivan had a plan. He would not spend so much time waiting around camp. Tomorrow, he would track the woodsman to his lair. Moose didn't appear too friendly at first, but when asked about Bigfoot and the legend of the lake, he began to accept Ivan's intrusion. He said the legend of the lake was quite confusing. The legend was about two creatures, Bigfoot and the lake monster. This Indian girl and her new husband went to the lake to prepare fish for winter, but the young brave made the mistake of painting his canoe blood red. Everyone has heard about the hair-covered half-whale, half-alligator that lives in the lake. Some believe it is a landlocked prehistoric monster that was cut off from the ocean by an earthquake or something. Probably didn't evolve any further because of the frigid cold water. The Indian girl told that her husband must have seen a movement in the water, and as he leaned over the canoe to get a better look,
North
the water
Alabama.
reflected the canoe's red color back into his face, and the monster swooped up and devoured him. the girl would not leave the lake. And one day, the monster came ashore and got her. Moose thought the legend to be a myth until he found the tracks of a heavy creature in the exact area where the couple had disappeared. So he fashioned a giant treble fishhook to be tied to a 50-gallon drum with airplane cables. The drum would act as a giant fish bobber. Then he could locate and dispose of the evil critter. Moose towed it out into the lake where he could put a sack of caribou entrails on it for bait. Moose made sure not to have any red paint on the canoe, but as he planted the bait, he remembered his red shirt. "I don't mind telling you," he said, "I didn't waste any time getting back on dry land." Moose took his canoe out of the lake and went back to the river where fishing was not so hazardous. He fired up his smoke rack and took care of the salmon. There was no way he could put his canoe back in the water again as long as he had that red shirt on his back. He walked back to the lake to check on his giant fishing tackle. But it was gone. The thing had taken it all: hook, line, and sinker. The story Moose gave Ivan about the lake monster was quite convincing. So he took old Moose's advice and conducted his Bigfoot search on the upper reaches of the salmon stream, where the salmon lay dead after spawning. According to Moose, Bigfoot tracks were most often found there. Why the salmon all die after spawning is still a mystery. But because of this, their offspring and many other species are able to feed off the dead carcasses before going downstream and out into the ocean. Soon, a blanket of ice will cover the salmon carcasses, encasing them in nature's own deep freeze, where they await being excavated and devoured by the weary winter traveler. Tales are told around Arctic fish camps how Bigfoot will not kill for food, but will eat the flesh of salmon that have died of natural causes. Ivan found this to be true, because every once in a while, he found where a salmon had been picked up and carried away by the creature. The abundance of salmon may be reason enough for Bigfoot to inhabit the Arctic. The Alaskan brown bear is ever present along the remote salmon streams, and he must not be ignored. Ivan lost both of his supply tents before he decided to move back to the main Amazing Horizons camp. The bear made Bigfoot tracking almost impossible along the lower salmon streams during spawning season. Ivan joined the rest of the crew in the search for bones around the melting glaciers. The warm Arctic sun circling around the sky bathed the ice pack with its heat almost constantly during this time of year. As small trickles of water carved away at the lower reaches of each glacier, the ice cracked and broke apart. In so doing, any animal lying encased in the tomb of ice would once again be deposited back into the world in which it had once lived. The ice search grew monotonous for Ivan, so he left camp and headed down the glacial stream in search of a living creature. The wilderness is Ivan's home. The jigsaw puzzle of life he confronts on the trail may always be a mystery to mankind. But each individual animal inhabiting the mountainous regions of this planet plays his own important role in balancing nature. But what about Bigfoot? Ivan knows that he, like almost all other warm-blooded animals, must have played an important part in the environment from which he came. For today, his trail entwines in and out of the feeding grounds used by the other animal species sharing in the Earth's great bounties. To an old-time bear tracker, Bigfoot's trail finally begins to make sense. Like all other creatures, he must have water and food. If Ivan's theory is correct, and the creature is basically a vegetarian, then he must follow nature's own irrigation system, namely the streams and rivers, because this is where food grows most abundantly. The small stream Ivan was following joined a river some miles below, and there he crossed the trail of Tundra Lily, a woman reaping her harvest from the lush land on which she lived. Her interpretation of Bigfoot was that he was no different from any other living creature, including herself. He, of all things, is a survivalist in the most renowned sense of the word. I learned much from Bigfoot, she noted, just by watching his tracks in the snow. I learned to survive these long Arctic winters. I, however, gather my supplies ahead of time and store them. But Bigfoot cannot do this because he is afraid of man and his greedy ways. Greedy people in my past life is the reason I moved to the Arctic. Every living being on this green earth was born to inherit his share of the good life. But how many of us have the fortitude to pursue what this land has to offer, as do tundra lily, sourdough moose, and the creatures that surround them? The only problem tundra lily seems to have is old sourdough moose, who lives downstream.
Looks like one of my
Part of
neighbors.
nature's puzzle that astounded Ivan was the fact that the Arctic salmon grew large canine-like teeth at spawning time. The salmon does not eat while spawning. Could it be for self-defense only? This earth we live on has many strange secrets, but there is one thing for certain. She provides food in abundance for all wise enough to seek it out. But what about the bear? He is the largest living carnivore and must have massive amounts of food to survive. I guess nature took this into consideration when she gave the bear the ability to hibernate during the winter months when food is scarce. Here in the Arctic, Bigfoot and the grizzly seem to feed alongside each other without any sign of physical encounter, even though bear have been known to kill each other. Coexistence of a different kind must prevail. Ivan has probably spent more time tracking bear than any man alive, but he knows the bear's temperament and avoids contact whenever possible. Some of Ivan's friends have been killed by the grizzly. Almost overnight, the winter winds began to blow, warning Ivan it was time to return to base camp and prepare for our exodus from the Alaskan tundra. The snow line was lowering when Ivan climbed to a higher elevation to call base camp on his walkie-talkie. I will never forget Ivan's words coming in over the radio.
It's
Like a
cold.
ghost in the Arctic, Bigfoot has left us with little to show for our summer's work. But every little piece of information we gather will soon place Bigfoot's piece of nature's puzzle in its rightful place. So we of the Amazing Horizons expedition leave the land of the midnight sun, but our trip was not a total failure. The ice had revealed some of its bounty to us. A skull, probably that of a mastodon, still had particles of flesh intact, and we were fortunate enough to smell the odor of the prehistoric creature hundreds of centuries old. The second bone was a leg bone, but it was much older than the mastodon skull. It was found in an altogether different area. Bones and a strip of film, not much, but enough for us to want to return. We will go back to the ice, and maybe next year, the remainder of the skeleton that joined our leg bone will be free of its icy bondage. We're all happy to hear that moose and tundra lily had settled their differences and can now live happily ever after in their vast Arctic paradise. We received word from the university near Ivan's Ranch in Bernie, California, that a young woman, an anthropology student, had sighted the creature near her home in Cow Creek Canyon, not more than 35 miles from Ivan's place. We were anxious to get back home because the winter months were setting in, and it was rapidly becoming one of the worst winters ever, so this was more than we could have hoped for. We went directly to the home of the student, Judy Ramirez.
Boy, this is fantastic country. Bigfoot critters should get over there in a hurry. My God. Hey, Tom. Look. This mountain is something else for that creature. Yeah, you've got berries, you've got acorns, everything in the world. It's just like that Bluff Creek country. Yeah. Right. That's right. Well, there's caves up here all the way through to Alaskan Mountain and clear over to Shasta. Well, this is perfect country. They got plenty of water, plenty of food. So
It's fantastic.
Now, Judy, why don't you tell us just exactly what happened then?
Okay, when I came in the house, after I had seen what I saw up on the road, I came in all so excited. And Andy asked me, well, why was I so excited? I told him that the reason I was excited because I thought I just had saw Godzilla up on the road. I didn't really think that he would believe that I saw what I had seen.
Then what did you think about that?
Well, he didn't say too much. He was standing in the kitchen fixing something for me to eat because I'd been out all evening. And I ran into the bedroom, okay, and I changed my clothes, and I came back out sort of nervous, as I usually am, lit a cigarette and sat down, and after just a few minutes, he wanted to make sure the kids were asleep before we started talking. Then he says, well, he had something to tell me about what had happened here at the house earlier in the evening. And so I said, well, what happened?
My two cats are fighting, and I walked in here, and I pulled this curtain away, and I picked up the cat, and I dropped it, and I screamed, and I looked up, and it had a human face. It turned sideways, and I only saw right here, that was the only part that was open on it. The rest was nothing but fur, and he was big and black. And I screamed and ran into my dad in the living room.
Here's some photos here, slides. Let me see if they look familiar to you. Judy, take a look at that too.
Yeah, that's what I saw in the window.
Oh, yeah, that's exactly what I saw on the road. That's exactly it. I saw a large, black man with big eyes. To me, the eyes stood out very clearly. I could see
Well, they love
his
that
eyes.
picture, don't they?
All I know is that he was standing like this, and when he saw me and I saw him, I took a second look, and then he made a movement, and I took off. So he may have turned, I don't know. Yeah, you want to do that? Okay.
What is there all the time? What is there? And I consider it mine. I'm growing tired. I'm weary now. The game's played. You better give up now. You keep looking for me. You don't understand. You don't know the powers that are in my hand. I've done my best to stay away from you. That we can make baby mad. I don't know what
The next morning, we were all up early to listen to weather reports telling of devastating blizzards careening down from the polar regions. Record low temperatures and snowfall from Atlanta to Dallas to Mount Shasta. Avalanches, mudslides, floods. The weather forecasters called this torrent of storms the Siberian Express. Starting in Siberia, this storm moved over the ice cap through Alaska, Canada, and down into the United States and through Northern California, killing hundreds of people and animals alike. But for Ivan and the Amazing Horizon Production Company, it turned out to be, as the Indians say, a situation where the world was in agreement with our search for Bigfoot.
No, never before has snow come to this lower elevation. So, I mean, years ago, remember when we trailed this thing? He'd go down to the lower elevations, and we couldn't find his tracks. He'd get in the rocks, no snow. But now, he cannot disguise or hide his tracks. There's no way.
Well, they know.
Well, he knows about, oh, that's exactly right. That's the reason I have to go by myself. Because if a group comes up there, then he's going to be, he's going to be just afraid we're going to kill him or anything like that, and he's going to get away. But any other animal, like a bear, a mountain lion, is going to get a little bit curious. And I'm hoping that this thing, we know he's curious. In other words, if I stay with him, 3, 4 days, 5 days, whatever, I'm going to stay with him. And then,
How are we going to know where you are?
Okay, how about it, Tom? Ernie, are you there?
Here we are, Ivan, here we are.
Okay, good. Come on up and try to set up the whole expedition right near the pickup.
because I'm sure I'm going to have to stay in there at least overnight this time of day, okay?
Okay, Ivan, I think maybe we should set up a command post down there right where we leave the rigs. Is that okay with you?
Yes, and now listen, I'm going to have the walkie-talkies with me, so I'll be able to stay in contact with you all the time, okay?
Very good. You be careful.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to head out.
Don't understand. You don't know the power.
Since 1951, when I get on the Bigfoot's trail, say in 6 or 8 inches of snow, immediately he would drop to lower elevation, drop out of the snow, get in rocky terrain, or even maybe walk down a stream bed to lose his tracks. I don't think the animal ever will learn that his tracks will give him away. The Bigfoot is different, I'd say, because I believe the Bigfoot knows that you can trail him. Why don't we have more evidence of the existence of the Bigfoot creature? The question that we're most often asked. When we look at the physical makeup of this creature, he is far superior than any other living animal on this continent. He has the ability to elude us all. I myself, if I wanted to go out in the mountains with my experience, I'm sure I could disappear and never, ever be found again. I think the Bigfoot is in the same category. In fact, I know he is. He is just absolutely, let's put it this way, he is elusive.
You keep searching for me. It's hard to hide. You keep following the tracks. That lead
And you can hear that full song on the Witching Hour live stream that I did last week.
all across your land. You're looking for me. I walk like a man. I walk this earth a dawn time. I walk this earth and I consider it mine. You keep looking for me. You don't understand. You don't know the powers that are in my hand. I walk this earth all the time. I walk this earth and I consider it mine.
Following his tracks, Ivan came upon a spot where Bigfoot had eaten from small plants. He was obviously nearby. The only thing to do now was to build an igloo out of the snow and wait. The igloo would not only protect Ivan from the cold, but would cover up his human scent. By building the igloo with a hole in the roof and covering it with twigs, Ivan could operate his camera from inside. Ivan waited for hours. Suddenly, he heard a rustling in the snow. His blood ran cold as he pressed the release button of his camera.
Yep, that's definitely a Bigfoot right there, right? Not a recreation. That's really a Bigfoot, right? Aha. Let me know in the comments below if you actually think that's a fucking Bigfoot. Oh my God.
The creature, curious by the sight of the igloo, began to circle around it. Frightened, Ivan felt an icy chill run down his spine until he remembered Judy Ramirez. The creature had circled her house in almost the same manner as he was doing now, and he obviously had meant no harm to her. After a few minutes, Bigfoot disappeared into the forest. Cautiously, Ivan began following the creature's tracks until he could hear crunching in the snow ahead of him. Leaving any fear of the animal behind, Ivan charged to within a few feet of the creature and with his miniature camera recorded this astounding footage.
Oh, wow.
My judgment is the value of Ivan Marx's photographs has to be divided into three categories. These are the most detailed, fine-grained pictures ever taken of a Bigfoot to date. Much can be learned from their careful analysis about the species' skull, body proportions, and genitals. I do not believe a man in a costume with bags of water hidden behind his back could shake with enough vigor to create the effect captured on this film. In my considered opinion, the first still authenticates the first two of the rapid sequence of three. In my opinion, the broad leap that the creature gives as it gets up after being shot is persuasive evidence that this is not a man in a costume. Ivan Marx reveres Bigfoot, and I am persuaded that his conditioned reflexes as a bear hunter impelled him in defense of Peggy and himself to bring it down. I share his relief that this film shows that it got up and strode off.
I'll be honest with you. This is two pieces of footage of Bigfoot that, as a Bigfoot researcher and an investigator, I have never seen before, and I will review them later. But wow.
Marx's photos and films with the skulls of all of the known fossil hominids. I find the greatest similarity with Australopithecus boisei, a large man-ape established by the Leakey family as living in Africa 1 to 2 million years ago, but supposedly extinct. Its skull had a massive, bony crest fore to aft, thought by some anthropologists to serve as an anchor for large jaw muscles. Presumably herbivorous, its canine teeth were no more prominent than our own. At first viewing, this snow sequence looks like an awkward man stumbling about in a pointy-headed, big-eared, loosely draping costume. But initial impressions become less certain upon studying it again and again. At first I felt that no creature as elusive as the Sasquatch would so carelessly knock over small trees, until I remembered that gorillas make crashing noises in the bushes by way of threatening intruders. This creature actually puts on a bluffing display, charges out toward Marx, and stops abruptly. The pointy-headedness may be due to its old age or poor winter diet. Likewise, the flappy pelt. In autumn, a roly-poly bear's skin is stretched taut over accumulated fat. This creature's movements inside its loosely fitting skin may look human precisely because its proportions are very close to those of a man. I was disturbed by the absence of head movement, except as its shoulders swiveled. Then I recalled the enormous folds of flesh around a male orangutan's neck that swell or shrink depending upon its mood. This creature was agitated about the strange igloo and intruder. The rigidity of its head upon its shoulders may be part of an aggressive display, a sort of swelled strut. Ivan could have made a costume and capered around while Peggy filmed it, but would he jeopardize the credibility of the other sequences by contriving a clumsy deception? I studied Ivan's character closely. Staging the snow scene would be inconsistent with the intelligence, wisdom, and common sense that I have observed him to possess in such full measure.
It is said that Bigfoot
is afraid of his shadow.
They love showing this picture right here, they don't
In
they?
our village,
Oh my God.
Bigfoot can see his shadow. It is too light to walk because people with guns can see him. People must learn to leave him alone, as we do. And maybe someday he can enjoy the warm Arctic sun and learn to live with his shadow. We hope you will tell the people to the south. And if they learn this, Bigfoot will be free, and our village will be happy.
Hey, this is the only copy of this show I've ever found, and it only has 8 views on the channel it's on. So I thought it would be great to show on here. I hope you enjoyed it. This has been 13 O'Clock Live. I'm your host, Danny Staten. Danny Dan, or better known as the Wolfman Dan. Stick around, I'm going to do a little bit of an after show. You might enjoy it. If not, happy fucking trails.
Blistered upon his mouth, last race that was mine. When he looked down this country, it looked like the day he survived.
I hope you enjoyed the show. It was called In the Shadow of Bigfoot. And it's a very rare documentary. I could only find one copy of it on YouTube, and that's where I played it from. That's most of the stuff I play here on 13 O'Clock Live. You could probably find on a YouTube channel somewhere. That's kind of the motive of this, is to promote other YouTube channels. So I implore everybody to drop your links in the chat. And we'll try to grow everybody's channel. And we're gonna play a song for you now to chill on out.
Hey, I'm Skinny Steve. This is my submission for the gym.
I hope you enjoy it. And we're doing videos on 13 O'Clock Live.
Well, in the mountains of Arkansas, that's where I go to pray the law. Just trying to grow my mountain weed. When I get out in that trail, I get caught up in that smell. Looks like I'm here to stay for good. But wait a second, what's that there? Holy fuck, I think it's a bear. Nope, it's definitely not a bear. Well, his eyes are red and sit real low. Holy shit, man, I think he's stoned. He ate damn near all the weed. Well, that's the way it's gonna be. Me and Sasquatch in the trees, smoking pipe, trying not to laugh. Well, it's hard to believe in fairy tales and fantasies. But Sasquatch, you are my friend. Well, it's 10 foot 10 with dark red hair, and he doesn't really have a care. His foot is twice the size of mine. Well, we don't really talk, we just hang out by the river when we're catching trout. He doesn't even need a hoe. Well, that's the way it's gonna be. Me and Sasquatch in the trees, smoking pipe, trying not to laugh. Well, it's hard to believe in fairy tales and fantasies. Sasquatch, you are my friend. grizzly shit like a sack of lizards in a possum pit. Ain't a tree that's full of juice. That's the way it's gonna be. Me and Sasquatch in the trees, smoking pot, trying not to laugh. Well, it's hard to believe in fairy tales and fantasies. Sasquatch, you are my friend.
Oh God, my cup's empty.
Well, in the mountains of Arkansas, that's where I go to break the law. Just trying to grow my mouth weed. Well, I'm friends with an 8 that's 10 foot tall, and I don't even have to call. He's always there, smoking me.
I hope you enjoyed that little tune from Stephen Williams. I like Stephen Williams' name because that was a cool wrestler named Dr. Death Steve Williams back in the day. Does anybody remember him? I doubt it. Hey, you know what time it is now? We're going to chill out. We're going to take a break. We're going to kick on back with a story because I love a Bigfoot story. And this one is Bigfoot Michigan Rob. And he's telling a Bigfoot story. And you're really going to dig on this one because this one is from right here in South Carolina. Hey, my flock, why don't you do me a favor and see if you can drop Bigfoot Michigan Rob's link in the chat? And while you're at it, drop yours and tell everybody who's watching, if anybody's left, because most people probably left after the main event show, to drop their link in chats because we try to grow and share channels here.
Hi, everybody. It's Friday, April 21st. You know,
And I'm going to go
that
mix
means
me a
it's time
drink
to
while Rob
either
tells you a story.
encounter story from either a subscriber or an emailer. And this is an interesting one. I want you all to leave a comment and tell me what you think. Because this was sent to me. I was conversing with this person named Jerry via email. And I guess this is quite a stirring in South Carolina. I think it was in 1997. And it was about two young boys, 12 and 16 years old, who had a Bigfoot experience, which they reported to the local paper. The thing about the story is these two young men, they, in the beginning, they had said it was a 23-year-old woman that relayed the story to them. I guess they were young kids, and they didn't, I guess they wanted to believe, being younger, maybe they weren't going to be taken seriously, so they kind of made up that it was a woman, right? But, you know, I found the article intriguing because South Carolina was in an uproar over this. So what I love about you guys is you always leave cool comments. So I'm going to present this. You tell me what you think, positive or negative, but I figure, you know what, you guys are smart. You guys like these stories, and I like you guys to think about this and give me your comments. I do thank each and every single one of you for subscribing to Bigfoot Michigan Rob. If this is your first time here, I got many of these stories, including I do 2 live shows per week. And of course, I'm with Tax on Texas Front Porch. We have 6 live shows for each and every single one of you. And don't forget that the Super Thanks is open if you care to donate. And here we go. Happy Friday. Tell me what you think. Leave a comment. Jackie Hutto, a 14-year-old boy in the small town of Nices, reports that he saw the creature outside his home at midday, July 15th. He was inside the house when he heard his family's dogs barking from inside a dog pen in the backyard. When Jackie went outside to quiet the dogs, he says he saw a large creature tugging at the wire walls of the dog pen. He reports that the animal was about 8 or 8.5 feet tall and covered in black fur, except for its face, chest, and knees, where brown skin was very visible. It bared large discolored teeth that were shaped like baby blocks, as he describes. And it also possessed prominent male genitalia. Additionally, In the contrast to the popular conception of Bigfoot being a big, powerful, muscular beast, this creature was described as being really fat or obese. When the creature looked at him, Jackie screamed and took off toward the house. Turning back to look as he ran, Jackie says the Bigfoot also fled from him, scurrying off into the woods. His brother David, 16, heard the screaming and came out of the house in time to glimpse the creature before it vanished into the forest. The Hutto brothers decided they needed to tell the world about what they had seen, but they didn't call the police or the Wildlife Commission. Instead, they went straight to the media. And this is where the tale begins to get tricky or a little knotty, as I explained earlier prior to telling the story, you guys. David Hutto called up the local newspaper, the Times and the Democrat, and faithfully reported all the details of Jackie's encounter, except for one. He said that Jackie Hutto was a 23-year-old woman. A brief article about the Bigfoot sighting appeared in the paper the following day, complete with quotes from Miss Hutto. Even though no reporter had spoken with her, the following excerpt comes from the end of the Times and the Democrat, the right of it read, "If the Bigfoot was someone in a costume, it fooled me," she said. She believed the Bigfoot ran too fast to be someone in a costume. "I'm pretty sure he wanted to eat the dogs or something. I keep looking out the windows to make sure it's not there," she says. Now she is actually the boy. I'm a disbeliever in a sense, and I still am, but I kinda am starting to have a change of heart. The Hutto brothers had a further change of heart soon thereafterwards, when they came forward with the truth about Jackie's age and his gender, being of course a boy. Apparently, they claimed the initial ruse was an abrupt attempt at an anonymity rather than deception. David also admitted that he too had seen the creature, which he had declined to mention previously. "I haven't told nobody. I seen it because I was afraid they'd say I was crazy," he explains. By the time these aspects of the story were straightened out, the sighting had already become an area phenomenon. Local residents were consumed with Bigfoot mania, and the story quickly garnered attention across South Carolina and beyond. Many of the townspeople of Nices had a hard time believing the story, and had a hard time believing their local newspapers, and so willingly it spread before having all the facts. "I think it's a bunch of baloney," said one resident, who characterized the Times and Democrats' decision to run the story as really slack and not very truthful. "My kids have not been out of the house all day long because they were scared when they saw this," says the resident. The resident also expressed concern for possible trigger-happy Bigfoot hunters traipsing throughout the community. "You get a bunch of people out there shooting up everything." Other Nices residents are more inclined to take the Bigfoot sighting in the stride. Local merchant displayed an airbrushed Bigfoot welcome center sign outside his dog city paint and body shop. He says his hunting dogs will be venturing out on the trail for the creature. So these guys, now whether this is true or not, whether they've seen the Bigfoot or made it up, the purpose behind this story is this whole town of South Carolina here, they're all in an uproar now over this. People are scared to let their kids out. People are shooting up in the forest. So this is really something going on here locally for them. "We don't want to hurt him. We want to feed him. We had to try and eat. If this Bigfoot tried to eat dogs because it went to a restaurant, he would have gotten thrown out." I don't know what that has to do with the story. I'm just reading it as the email is sent in to me. Brenda Polk, a Bigfoot enthusiast in Concord, North Carolina, was also thrilled to hear of the Nices sighting. Polk, who says she saw Bigfoot near the South Carolina border in 1991, is sending out her support to Jackie Hutto in his decision to go public with this sighting, despite the fact that he made up that it was a woman. I'm trying to get a support group started for people in the Carolinas that have spotted Bigfoot and have a place for them to report their sighting without people telling them that they've lost their minds. People that have talked to me about it tell me it's a good thing. I even brought a computer to get on the internet. There's a lot of Bigfoot information out there, she describes. She also believes that Bigfoot possess no danger to humans. They won't attack us unless they are attacked. I don't think it's going to hurt anybody, and I do not think that the speculation of this creature attempting to eat dogs is even true. She goes on to say that dogs must have been frightened, though, to run off and act like that. I've been studying now for the past year, and I haven't seen where any actual attacks of humans have happened, let alone dogs. Whether they believe the story or not, many South Carolinians are likening the Denise's Bigfoot to the notorious lizard man that supposedly terrorized Palmetto State Park in the summer of 1988, described as a 7-foot humanoid reptile with scaly green skin and red eyes. The alleged creature endangered a booming cottage and industry of t-shirts and bumper stickers until the novelty wore off. Only time will tell if Jackie Hutto's Bigfoot might prove to be more than just another summertime trailer prank. I don't know. I think it was worth telling you guys, and the reason I even went on with this story, it's kind of sketchy, I think, myself. But here's the thing. The moral behind this story, which I want to bring out, is this. You yell, you scream Bigfoot, some communities, they might get paralyzed by this. There was people traipsing off in the woods, firing shots in the woods, hunting for Bigfoot. Whether the story is true, believable, I don't know, but it just goes to show you what one story can do to a community, whether it's hoax or whether it's factual. Because still to this day, there are people out there that are in a panic when they hear about these sightings with these cryptids. I thought it was worth telling you guys. Leave a comment. Was it real? Do you believe the kids? Did they make it up?
And that's Bigfoot and Michigan Rob with a story about Bigfoot from South Carolina. I kind of believe that's real because I live in South Carolina, and South Carolina is the home of creepy stuff. And I promise to ask any questions anybody asks in the chat. And yes, let me answer the question. Daddy Dan created a mixed drink. The mixed drink is called the DeFazio. And yes, it is named after Laverne DeFazio, Penny Marshall's character on that great TV show that I loved as a kid called Laverne and Shirley. And how did DeFazio came to be? Well, how did DeFazio came to be is Daddy Dan loves White Russians. That's vodka, milk, and Kahlua. Now, vodka's pretty reasonable down here. You can get a good bottle of vodka from the Ukraine for about $15, and it'd be a big bottle. And you can get a Pepsi. You could get milk, for $1.89 a gallon. That's great. And that Kahlua that goes in it, unfortunately, when I started drinking White Russians, Kahlua cost $20 a bottle, and it was a big-ass bottle. Well, now, as of today, that same bottle is $58. $58 for a bottle of Kahlua. And not that I'm having no financial problems or nothing, but $58 for a bottle of Kahlua was just a little steep for Daily Dan. So one day I run out of Kahlua, and I said I need something similar, so I put a little Pepsi in the glass. I stirred it up, and I found out that Pepsi works just as good as Kahlua, and actually makes it taste a little bit better. Yeah, it does. So I created a drink called the DeFazio because I use Pepsi instead of Kahlua. And you can see that video on YouTube. Hey, everybody likes Bigfoot Michigan Rob. I just showed a story by him, so it's only right that I'm going to play you a video from my other channel. the Danny Staten channel. It's like my little home channel where I do a lot of moderation on that, but I do have quite a few subscribers on the Danny Staten channel. And once in a while I put a video up on there that you probably wouldn't see nowhere else. And I want you to check this one out because my friend Bigfoot Rob, he wrote a book.
Danny Staten here on the Danny.
Check this out.
Oh God, am I excited? I'm having a good week for getting packages through the mail. I want to give a special shout out to my friend Thrash Pondo Bonds. Hey, I got your new shirt, brother. It rocks. I love it. It's based on the Flash Gordon logo, but it's Thrash Pondo Bonds. You know Thrash Pondo Bonds? You can find him here on YouTube. He saved every one of us. Yeah, he did. And my friend Dave Sunstorm sent me some really cool stuff. Check this out. I got the Rewind magazine, the cool one with the Partridge Family. I've been trying to win a subscription to this magazine for a year. It's driving me crazy. And he sent me the Don Knotts collection. Yes, he did. Oh, I can't wait to sit back Sunday and enjoy all the really cool Don Knotts movies. But here, we're here for something different today. I just got this package and I'm about to open it live. That's right, my excitement boils over for this one. This is something I'm really excited about. Oh yeah, a special shout out to Mr. Blondie. Mr. Blondie sent me UFOs and flying saucers. I'll have to check that book out too, but this is the book I want to get into. So let's do a live opening. I should have posted. Okay. I removed my name and address in case you're wondering. And here it comes. Dun, dun, dun. Oh my God, it's True Cryptid Encounters, Book 1, the new book by my friend, Bigfoot, Michigan Rob. And I couldn't pronounce Bigfoot, Michigan Rob's last name if I was sober. Check this out. It's got the really cool cover by Jason McLean on it. Wow, he does some wonderful art. And that art's really not done with AI. He's a real artist. He drawed that stuff according to Rob. That's pretty cool. And I love the way they've done this book. What do y'all think? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want to pause the camera right now, you can read Bigfoot Michigan Rob's intro to the book. Here on the back cover. I think that's pretty cool, Rob. And of course, he wouldn't be Rob if he didn't have a really cool picture. Hey, I think he was wearing that bandana in today's show. Hey, he hit us with the black and white NWO bandana, Rob. Really cool, dude. And now we'll give you a quick, brief summary of some of the really cool Bigfoot and Dogman stories I think you'll find in here. I don't know if all of them's Bigfoot. We may have a different kind of cryptid, a flying cryptid or a Dogman story or a werewolf even. Oh my goodness.
And that is Bigfoot Michigan Rob's new book from one of my videos on the Danny Staten channel. I have put that link in the chat. I want everybody to be sure to click that link if you want to, because here's a secret nobody knows. On that channel I do a show. I used to do a show last year called Night Flights, where I looked at good stuff and cool stuff and stuff like old TV shows like Bigfoot My Boy and Wonderbug and Dr. Shrinker and Cross stuff. And I'm going to start back doing that show next week probably. And that live stream will only be available on that one channel. So you might want to check that one out. What do y'all think? Are you looking forward to the return? I got theirs to play another song, so I'm going to throw a song on there for you and sit back and relax and check this one out.
Way up on the mountainside, look what I found. Great big man tracks sinking in the ground. It's a legendary Sasquatch they're all harping on, but old Bigfoot, he's been there and gone. He's big around the middle and he's broad across the rump, going 90 miles an hour, taking 40-footed jumps. taking 40-footed jump. Ain't ever been caught or ever run up a tree. Some folks say he sings a lot like me. They've chased old Bigfoot as far as he can go. When they'll catch and civilize him, well, nobody knows. He shouldn't have to suffer over modern man's whim. You wouldn't want your sister to go to school with him. Well, he'd pick around the middle and he's brought across the rump, going 90 miles an hour, taking 40-footed jump. Ain't ever been caught or ever run up a tree. Some folks say he sings a lot like me. Some folks say he looks a lot like me.
Swerve! Late as always. Hey, Swerve, when you gonna start back doing live streams? Everybody misses your wit. Everybody misses your wrestling analogies. I tell you what, on Swerve Show, you see him in the chat. Yeah, everybody ought to subscribe to Swerve if you like wrestling, because he may actually go back to doing a live stream. And if he does go back to doing his live streams, you'll get some insight on Bigfoot that you never heard before, right? Because Swerve knows Bigfoot. He really does. Ha 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 ha. I hope you enjoyed that little tune. That was a really cool one. Bigfoot. What are you looking for? I think Bigfoot's looking for me. Ah! Everybody be sure to check out my friend The Swerve Show. Like I said before, I was just joking. He does a wrestling live stream, and he does a really good job. I hope you enjoy his wrestling live stream. Yeah. Daddy Dan's had quite a few drinks tonight, boy. I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to play for you next. What do you want to hear? Anybody want to hear anything special? Any requests in the old chat tonight? Oh, okay, not. Well, I am drawing a blank on what I should do next. Because, like I said before, the main event's over. The show's about to end. It's getting close to the ending. And I want to play something a little bit different. What should I do? And then something dawned on me. The problem is trying to find it because I'm not sure what bloody channel I put it on. But when I play it, you're going to like go, oh my God. Because I'm going to play something I don't normally play. I'm going to play something a little far out there. And since the show's about over and there's only a couple of people will see this part, nobody ever stays this long anyway. I can't believe there's still people in the chat. This song I want to dedicate to my friend Roy in Puerto Rico.
Teddy, get the door. No, you get it.
Because Christmas ain't far
Teddy,
away.
get the door. It's your party, you get it. Don't be a bitch or you won't get stuff for Christmas. You better look out, you better not cry, you better watch out, I am telling you why. Don't be a bitch or you won't get stuff for Christmas. He's making a list, checking it twice, gonna find out who's been a bitch. Don't be a bitch or you won't get stuff for Christmas. He sees you when you're sleeping, he knows when you're awake, he knows if you have been a bitch, so don't be a bitch. You better watch out, you better not cry, you better look out, I'm telling you why. Don't be a bitch or you won't get stuff for Christmas. Hey! He sees you when you're sleeping, he knows when you're awake, he knows if you have been a bitch, so don't be a bitch. You better not cry, you better look out, I'm telling you why. Don't be a bitch or you won't get stuff for Christmas. Don't be a bitch or you won't get stuff for Christmas. Don't be a bitch or you won't get stuff for Christmas. Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas, bitches! And subscribe, comment, like, and subscribe.
Like my flock says.
Butterfly in the sky. I can go twice as high. Take a look. It's in a book. A reading a rainbow. I can go anywhere. For lands to know and ways to grow. A reading a rainbow. I can be anything. Just fucking take a look. It's fucking in a book. A fucking reading a rainbow. A reading a rainbow.
I wanted to dedicate that to my friend Roy in Puerto Rico. Hey, fuck you, Roy. Uh-oh, did I say that out loud? I hope you enjoyed that. I want to throw a little bit of comedy on the end of this little bit of a stream I've been doing. I hope you enjoyed the feature presentation. Here's something that'll stay with you forever.
But man's been here before and we'll get by. Like we've always done before, and if we try to do the best we can, we'll be alright. We will survive. The universe, as far as we can see, goes far beyond us. And our fails and victories are just illusions and reminders to do the best we can while we're here. Yes, we can. The universe, as far as we can see, goes far beyond us. And our fails and victories are just illusions and reminders to do the best we can while we're here. And the universe says, every time that music plays, I want to sing and dance. I want to gather with my friends like we did in the past. The distance of these troubled times will be a memory. The universe is endless, but it starts with you and me.
I hope you enjoyed that. Like I said, I wanted to end the show on a little bit of a whim, a little bit of something different. What did y'all think about my friend Elvis the Clown? Really, his name's Joker the Clown, but I just call him Elvis the Clown. He does some really cool stuff. Don't you agree? And as always, if I can find it, because Daddy Dan has to look and search and go through all this to find what he's looking for, and it's really annoying. You know, I really should take the time one day to format a show. That's right. Plan everything I'm going to do in advance instead of doing it on the spur of the moment. But I thank everybody for joining me. I hope you enjoyed our main event show. I thought it was pretty cool. If you missed the beginning, you should back it up and watch it from the start. And like always, I'm going to finish stuff with my theme song.
Now in South Carolina, way down yonder, there's a big old critter that likes to wander around.
Thanks for coming.
Sometimes late at night. Well, it ain't no beaver, bobcat, or bear, 'cause he's 8 foot tall and covered in hair. And the first time I seen him, he give me quite a fright. Well, he eats from my garden and peas in my grass, and he stings like a skunk mixed with grizzly bear ass, and he scares my cats when they smell him come around. Well, he spends his time peeking around trees, and he thinks what he wants, and he does what he pleases, like scratching his butt and making a grunting sound. Sasquatch, Sasquatch, knocking on the trees, chucking rocks and screaming like a troop of chimpanzees. Sasquatch, Sasquatch, running around my place. Are you the missing link, or are you from outer space? Now you may wonder, what does a Sasquatch do when he's wandering around at 1:45 in the middle of the night because he's feeling down? Well, he comes on over to visit my house. I think he has a little thing for my spouse, 'cause she always feels like someone is around. Well, he looks in the windows and checks out my wife. Can't say as I blame him. She looks pretty nice in a fuzzy robe as green as the foam of the sea. Well, he stands and he blinks as he ponders and thinks about humans and love, and she smiles so sweet. He wonders what the heck she sees in me. Sasquatch, Sasquatch, stop looking in my windows. I think it's kinda creepy, you voyeuristic weirdo. Sasquatch, Sasquatch, keep your big paws to yourself. Ain't you got a lady Sasquatch to raise your Sasquatch?
That's right. Just start the show over and watch what you missed. Thanks for coming, everybody. Be sure to like, subscribe, and ring that stupid little bell.
Them fellers that got that Squatch hunting show, finding Bigfoot is what they're all about. They said people see him all the time and make lots of reports that are just like mine, and if you see him too, go ahead and give him a shout. Now I wish I knew some Sasquatch lingo. I'd invite him on over to party and mingle with me and my wife and a few of our closest friends. But I guess I'll smile and just just wave hi the next time the big guy comes walking by. Saying hello just might become a trend. Sasquatch, Sasquatch, my big old hairy friend. There's some that don't believe in you, but I will till the end. Sasquatch, Sasquatch, hope your legend never ends. Didn't know that we were neighbors, but I hope